right, good morning, everybody. Again, I'm Carmen Chor. I'm a portfolio analyst here. And so I am going to walk through kind of the basics for entry into WBARS. Um, I'm not going to show all functionality that WBARS offers for the purposes of this training. I'm only going to be showing you kind of the relevant steps to get your bond info into Table 1, which is pretty similar to the Part B. And it's the Table 1 is going to be the replacement for Part B. I want to mention that in this training, this is going to be the things I'm going to show are going to be for the folks who have to do bond reporting for the very first time in WBARS. Some of you guys are going to have already reported in WBARS for some of your properties. Maybe you have it's bonded mixed with something else. So some of these dates and other items I'm going to mention don't pertain to you. So if you've already reported for your properties in WBARS, you're just going to continue on like you have been doing for the previous years. But if you have never reported in WBARS before because you're just a straight bond property and we're setting you up for the very first time, this is going to be showing you what we want to see on the report for this year just to get you set up and started. So the first thing I'm going to start with here is logging in. So WBARS, it's a web-based program that you guys will use to enter your data and then submit up to us. So we'll be able to take a look and download what you've entered in there. And it's all online. So the website that you're going to go to is www.wbars.com. And when you put in that website, you're going to come to this page here. Now, I'm going to use a little bit different site because I'm going to move my stuff out of the way here. In here for training. But this is going to be the login page that you're going to see. And so Lana Kay has gone through and she has entered in all of the projects that have not been in WBARS yet. She sent out a spreadsheet previously asking for specific information that helped her enter the information for your properties. And then she's also set up owners and I believe property managers. And then if you haven't received it already, or you don't already have a WBARS login, you'll be getting your login information shortly. So now for those people who don't have a login yet, I'm going to talk about who is going to be the one that will set you up and how they're going to do that. So to log in, you'll have a username and you're going to have a password. You'll enter that, click on login, and it's going to take you to this screen right here, which is the dashboard. On the dashboard, it has kind of this side navigation panel that has various icons that you can click on that will get you into different portions and functions of WBARS. There's your dashboard icon, you have projects. It drills it down even more to the sites on projects, buildings that are in sites. You can even go into units. And it also has an icon for users, and there's like a help function that kind of where the user guide lives, and I will be talking about that later on in this training. So the first thing that we're going to go into as far as getting started is going to be user setup. So under this icon here, if you put your mouse over it, it says users. If you click on that, this is going to be where all the users live. And you can see we have people's names, we have the organization, we have access, just kind of like an overview of everyone who is able or has access or had access in the past to WBARS. You're going to notice here that some of these guys have kind of a picture next to their name that is a kind of like a shield. And those people have been set up as the organizational admins, and they're going to have a little bit more access and permissions to set up different things in WBARS. I am going to actually go in here and log in as someone else instead of me. So when going in to set up a user, and this isn't going to be for everyone, this is going to be if you're an organizational admin, you're going to see this little plus button up here, which is how to add a user. If you click on that, it's going to go in and give you options to enter information to create a user. And everything in WBARS that has red asterisks on it are fields that need to be completed, or it's going to stop you from going any further. And so you're just adding in names. And when you are setting folks up, you either can activate them or you can make them inactive. So let's say that someone has moved on to a different organization, or maybe they're no longer with your organization. The organization admin are able to inactivate them. And so that way they won't have access to log into WBARS anymore. So if you end up leaving your organization and maybe moving to a different one, somebody will have to go in here and set you up with a different login and different access. You won't be able to use your previous employer's login information. So again, you'll put in your email address, and then user ID can be whatever you want your user ID to be, and password. Most people who are setting up folks, they kind of have a default password that they use. And so once they have set you up, they'll send you an email saying, this is your user ID, here's your default password. That's when you're going to have the ability to log in on that initial website page that I showed you, go under users, and then pull up your name, and then you can just edit your password to whatever you want it to be in here. Some of the other functions on the create new users is what kind of access that you'll have. There is either none, on-site manager, or organization admin. So on-site manager is probably going to be the bulk of folks who just need to be able to go in and pull data, or they're going to be doing data entry, or they need to pull reports. Organizational admin, you'll be able to do all the same things, but you'll be able to set up utility allowances and also set up users. Then we also have what kind of access that they'll have. So there is read-write access or read-only access. So if you just want to set someone up here that's able to get into WBARS and just look at your information, it's maybe someone that maybe needs to see a table for financials or something, you can set them up to have read-only access. And then once you're done, you're just going to click save. All right, so moving on. I'm going to start with a general overview of navigating. So you'll see over here, we're back to the this little navigation column, and I'm going to go ahead and click on projects. So when you're logged in, you're going to only see the projects that are associated with you, that have been set up for you to have access. Sorry, I have things popping up on my screen here. And if you want to go into a particular project to take a look, you go ahead and you're going to click on the project name, and it's going to pull up this screen. You're going to notice on the screen that it has these 4 tabs across the top. You have a general tab, which is going to have who is the owner contact, the name of the organization, the name of the person who is set up by the organization as the owner, and other information like maybe their email address, a phone number, the property address. You have a funder tab. When you click on the funder tab, this is where we go in and we're going to set up the parameters that we have for you according to your regulatory agreement. You can see for this one, the only funder associated with this project is the Washington State Housing Finance Commission, so it's just for us. But you may see other funders that utilize WBARS for their reporting listed here as well. Not all funders use WBARS, so you may have to do reporting outside of this website. But if you want to see who is utilizing this and you want to see the parameters that each of those funding organizations have set up, you'll be able to see it under here. If we click on us as a funder, it's going to tell you more information about this project. It has me in here as the primary contact. I'm the portfolio analyst for this property. And it'll also have information like when does the regulatory agreement expire? This one says it's a bond-only project. It gives us the ability to check or uncheck boxes depending on what kind of reporting that we want for you. Since this is a bond-only project, we've set up only Table 1 to be required for reporting. And then down here, we have information like what is the AMI percentage for this, based off the regulatory agreement. So this is a bond project. The units are 50%. There's 4 of them. The first year that this property was placed in service was 2009, and the last one is 2030. And then also down below here, it has where we would enter if there's any kind of special needs. So if you maybe had a disabled special needs that was required for the property, there'd be a drop-down box here, would be able to choose disabled, how many numbers, and then the first and last year of that requirement. The next thing we're going to look at is the sites tab here. And if you click on the sites tab and then click on the site, this page here is going to show you some information as far as maybe if there's a property management company that is helping this ownership with reporting and other management things. And so this one in particular was Pioneer Human Services. They have set up as their site property manager, Todd. And it also has on here if you wanted to have an on-site manager listed for WBARS access as well. And a lot of times people, even though it's not required to have an on-site manager, maybe they'll put a compliance specialist that works on site as the on-site manager. And then the site property manager might actually be the property manager or regional manager or someone else that maybe is going to have a little bit more authority over the on-site staff or a compliance person. Then the last tab we have here is the reports tab. And this is where you're going to find your Table 1. You're going to see here for Snyder Apartments, the current year that they're working on is 2024. And Table 1 right now is at the lowest level that it could be, which is the property management level. In a few slides here, I'm going to show you guys the hierarchy on kind of where the tables will be at and then how to submit and kind of who it goes up to next and the steps in order to get it all the way to the funder. But for this purposes here, just want to show you that right now, Table 1 is that property manager. And if you need to know who has access to this table right now and for editing purposes, if you remember under the Sites tab, you can see that this is who's set up for the property manager. It's Todd. So Todd's the one that's going to be able to go in and edit Table 1. All right. So that's just kind of a general overview. The next thing that we're going to have to set up is a default utility allowance before you get started actually entering any information into Table 1. And this is only going to be for those folks that is bond only. If this is the very first time that your project is being set up in WBARS, and this is the very first time you're going to use a Table 1 instead of Part B, you're going to have to go in and set up a default bond utility allowance. The reason for that is when WBARS was set up, it was meant for tax credit or home reporting. It wasn't set up for bond. And so it has some requirements that are going to be a hard stop unless you fill in certain fields. And so in order for you to enter your information on your Table 1 without having any errors pop up, you're going to have to go in and set up this default utility allowance. So only an organizational admin is going to be able to do this. And if you are not set up as this person, you're not going to have this little icon on the project page that says bulk upload utility allowance. So if you go in to try to do this and you don't see this option, it's just because you don't have the permission. So you either need to figure out who is your organizational admin or get WBARS set up to make you have that. So there's a couple different ways you can set up the UA, but I just find that this is quicker. Again, you'll be at the side navigation. You're going to click on the project's icon. It's going to take you to this page. You're going to go to bulk upload utility allowance. Go ahead and click on that, and it's going to take you to this page here. This top section has a drop down. It's going to show you the different projects that you're associated with. So if you happen to use, and this is for other folks who don't have the bond or bond only, if you're just using a housing authority utility allowance and you're using it all across all your properties, you can click on all properties. It's going to populate everything. This is going to change it for all, so you don't have to go into each individual property and do this. For this purpose, we're just going to do this for Snyder apartment. This is going to be the bond property I'm using today. So once you've chose the project that you're going to want to do this for, you want to make sure you know how many different bedroom sizes that you have at that project. If you have just studio apartments, you're only going to need to do this for one line. But if you have studios, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom apartments, you're going to have to do an entry for each one of those bedroom sizes. So over here, there's this add button. If you click on it, it just is going to give you additional lines in order to enter this information. So I'm just going to say this project has a studio through 3 bedrooms. So for the implementation date for bond only, you're only going to be able to do it for the beginning this year for 2025. Hopefully this isn't too confusing. I am going to be doing mine for 2024 because I want to show you guys what it looks like on the report screen once I've actually submitted a table all the way. So just keep in mind, I'm going to be saying 2025, but I'm probably going to be entering 2024. So implementation date and effective date, we're going to enter in here as 1/1/2025. And I'm just going to copy and paste this into all of my fields for all of my bedroom sizes. And then this drop-down box is where you're going to enter your bedroom sizes. So we've got studios, 1 bedroom, 2 bedrooms, and 3 bedrooms. So utility allowance source, we've set up an option that is bond only. So you're going to scroll down to WSHFC bond only, and you're going to choose that for all your bedroom sizes. For utility type, we don't need to know what utilities if they have electric on site. We're just going to do bond only. So we're going to need to also do that for each of your bedroom sizes that you have for the project that you're setting up. And then for the amount, we're just defaulting 0. So once you've entered this kind of default utility allowance for all your bedroom sizes for your bond project, you're just going to go ahead and click upload. And then you get this little updated successfully. So that part is done. So once you've done that, we're going to move on to actually looking at the Table 1 report. So if we go back to the navigation bar and you click on projects, and then again, you click on the project that you're going to want to enter your Table 1 on when we're doing Snyder Apartments. We're going to click on reports. Then we're going to click on 2024. So you'll see when you open that up, it drops down additional tabs below here that we're going to work in. You don't have to worry about tables 2 through 5 for bond-only projects. If you have properties that you've already been reporting in, this does not apply to you. And again, if we go back to reports here, you're going to see that for table 2, 3, 4, 5, it says NA because we've made it to where it's not a requirement for you to report. So if you click on table 1, this is what your blank table 1 is going to look like. And so in order to start putting your data in, you're going to have to, for this year only, move everyone in. One of the things that I found was easy for me was just taking this last year's Part B. And if these folks are still living in there, you could use that. I'm going to move this back over to my other screen that you're not going to see. Can kind of use that as my baseline to enter information in. But if you just, pull a rent roll or something from your software, you could just use that to start entering information. The first thing you're going to do here is you're going to go up to the top right-hand corner of the table 1, and you're going to see these different icons on here. And you're going to click on this plus button, which is to move someone in. Like I mentioned before, everything that has a red asterisk is going to need a field, or if you try to move on, it's going to get mad at you. And I'm going to back out of that so we don't have to look at all that pretty red. So for this one here, we're going to move someone in to unit number 3. That is one of our bond units. We're going to click on move in, and the first thing you're going to do is select a building. This building or this project has 2 buildings. Unit number 3 is in building number 1. If you click on building number 1 and go over to select unit, it's going to show you all of the units that are available in that building. Now, if we chose a different building, you're going to notice when we go into the units, you're going to see different unit numbers available. So if you go to move someone in and you have several buildings and you go to select a unit and you don't see that unit number as an option, it could be because maybe it's just in a different building number. It also could mean that there's someone that's already living or already entered in WBARS for that unit. So if you come in here to move in number 3 and number 3 isn't in there, one of the things you want to check is it a different building, or maybe there's someone in unit 3 and I'm just choosing the wrong unit, or maybe you meant to move them out and you just forgot a step, and that's why this unit isn't available as a selection. And we'll talk about move outs here in a minute as well. So we're going to select unit number 3. And then down here for unit designation, there's a drop-down box, and we're going to choose restricted because you have a restricted bond unit. Don't worry about these check boxes. These are for other funders. And we're going to enter in the resident name for our first resident. So we've got Maria Lopez. Again, if this is the first year that you're setting up for bond, you're only going to be able to do 1/1/2025. If you do anything else, it's going to say date should be in the current report year. So you can't go back a few years later and update a move-in date for someone from a previous year. The software is not going to let you do that. So your move-in date, and this is going to be on your cheat sheet, so you know what we're expecting as you're setting up your bond-only units in WBARS. You're going to put in 1/1/2025. Remember, I know I'm putting in 2024. If your unit has any kind of special needs, like you need to note that this is one of your disabled units, if that's one of your set-asides, this is where you would enter it. And then you're going to have to put in your move-in household size. This one in particular is 3. Then you're going to go ahead and just click next down here. Every time you hit next, it moves you through these tabs. These 2 middle tabs for bond reporting purposes, we're not requiring you to put any information in. So you can go ahead and just keep on clicking next until you get over to this last tab that is set aside and rent data. Here's where you're going to put in, what's the AMI for this unit. So this particular property is 50%. We're going to click 50%, and then we're going to put in the annual income. So this particular one is 17,042, not 170,000. You'll notice when you're entering for bond, you're going to get this little kind of, I guess, an error message that pops up. And this is only because we didn't put in individual income in this tab. And so it's just kind of saying like, hey, just letting you know you're putting in an annual income, but you didn't put anything in the the household member tab. So you can just click yes, it's not a big deal. It's just kind of to let you know. Here you're going to have resident payment. So we're going to put in $900 because that's the resident portion of their rent. And then utility allowance, see how it's asterisked. It would stop you if you didn't enter anything. So that's why we set up that default UA. Just going to click your bond only. Now, if any of your residents have any kind of subsidy, it's helpful just to put this information in. So if someone is rents $1,250 and your resident is paying $900, but the subsidy is, $350, go ahead and enter that in there. And then you can put in, it's a shelter plus care voucher or something, like whatever that information is. We don't track your rents, but it's good to know. If we see someone who has 0 income, but they have $2,000 rent payment, we might ask additional questions just to make sure that, are they paying their rent from their savings? Or, oh yeah, they don't have any savings. How are they paying this rent? There might be, it just might be a good cue for you and for us to note that maybe there's some income that they're receiving, whether it's help from family, that would be considered income for compliance purposes, but maybe we didn't catch it, and this is kind of a good spot to find that they have additional income. And then once you've entered that information, because we put everyone in for 1/1/25 as a move-in date, here is where we're just going to have you click in a note that is just actual move-in date is, let's say they moved in 5/1/2020. And that just lets us, when we go back to reference previous years, we know that that's when they were qualified. Go ahead and click save. And you see it says occupant moved in successfully. So it kind of pops you back to this first tab. You can click on this arrow here. It takes you back to your little digital table 1. And now you can see for apartment number 3, Marie is in there with her move-in date. Let's scroll over here. It logged that she has a disabled set aside. The restricted percentage for this unit is 50%. Household size is 3. The benefit of using the online table 1 is that we preload in the max income for this project. And so no longer do you need to look it up and enter it. It's going to pre-populate for you. And we have their annual income of $17,040. And then you'll see here the note that you entered, actual move-in date 5/1/2020. So I'm going to pop back in and I'm going to move in another person real quick here. So let's say we need to enter someone into unit number 6. We're going to click on move in. This takes us to this first tab. Unit 6 I saw was in building 1. We click on unit. Here's unit 6. And then this is one of our bond units. We're going to choose restricted. All right, unit number 6 is going to be Joe Miller. Okay, for setup purposes, you're putting in 1/1/2024, or 2025, I'm sorry. I'm putting in 24, you're doing 25. Special needs, he is not one of the disabled units. It's just Joe, so we're gonna put in 1 household member, and we're gonna click next. We can continue to click next because we don't need these tabs filled out until we get to the set aside and rent data. This is a 50% property. Okay, their annual income is $46,000. We know, so we're going to click yes on that little error message. And Joe does not have any kind of subsidy. And we have to remember to go in, pick our default utility allowance so it doesn't stop us. And then we're just going to put in a note, actual move-in date is we'll say 12/15/2023 and click save. Okay, takes us back to this households general tab. Click this back arrow, we can see here's Joe and all the information that we entered. So the next function I'm going to show you is what if someone moves out and we need to log that for the year. So let's say Maria moved out in October and we need to be able to show that on table 1. If you click on Maria's name, now that she is a household, it takes you into her general tab. The only thing that you're going to have to do for this one is enter the move out date in this field right here. So Maria moved out 10/31/2020. It'll be 2025 on your report. And then I'm just going to keep clicking next till I get to this last page. I don't have anything to change on here. Just going to click save. Pops us back to their general page. I'm going to click this arrow here. And now you can see the date that we entered in this in the household. The move out date has now popped up. One of the other things I want to bring up since we're moving someone out is, do we need to count this unit as one of your qualified vacants for the bond projects. So how are we going to be able to know that this person that moved in and now moved out is still qualified? They moved out towards the end of the year. There was some upgrades that needed to happen with the unit, so it wasn't re-rented before the calendar year ended. But you need to let us know that this is still one of the qualified bond units. One of the things that you're going to have to remember to do is when you go in are in the household and you're in that last tab where you hit save and you have a comment that says their actual move-in date, you want to add now that they moved out that it's one of the qualified vacants. So I'm going to put in front just so it's easy to see quickly that this is a qualified vacant. And I would just, whatever comments that you already have in there, go ahead and leave it in there because we might need that information as well. So Maria doesn't live there. We're still counting her towards our bond units. We're going to note that this is a qualified vacant. We're going to click save. When we click this back arrow and get back into your little digital table 1, and we scroll over to this comment tab, you're going to see that when we're looking at this report, we're going to know this is one of your qualified vacants. Okay, so another function that might happen throughout the year is maybe you have a transfer. So let's say that Joe is in unit 6. Maybe they put in a reasonable accommodation to move into unit 7 because that unit has a roll-in shower or something. So we need to transfer this person. To process a transfer in WBARS, it's actually on this first page. You're not going to go into the household field. So you're going to scroll all the way over here and you're going to see that there's this little open door icon. And when you hover your mouse over it, it says transfer. Go ahead and click on that. This little box is going to pop up. And this is where you're going to enter information about this unit transfer. So Joe was in building 1, unit 6. And they're going to move out, or they're actually do the transfer on, let's say, May 1st. So you enter the date that they're moving out from unit 6, and then we're going to choose what unit they're moving into. So you see here, this is building 1, unit 1, building 1, unit 2. They're going into unit 7. So we're going to choose unit 7, and it automatically populates the very next day as the date that they're quote unquote moving in or transferring into this unit. If you click OK, you're going to see here now, it moved Joe's information over from unit 6 into unit 7. So all the information stays in here. So we're going to be able to see that Joe was in 6 and now in 7, but it populated the move out date for the date that they transferred. And then here's where they started living into the new unit. So there's nothing else that you need to do if someone transfers. Whatever information you had in the previous unit moves over into the new unit, including the notes. Okay, another one of scenarios that might happen to you in this first year that you're entering is you might have a unit that's been vacant the entire year. So if someone moved out in maybe at the 31st of December in 2024, and for whatever reason, that unit's been vacant for all of 2025, but because they were a bond unit when they moved out, they're still a qualified vacant. Now, hopefully you're not leaving your units vacant for a whole year, but it's definitely a scenario that could happen. So I just want to show you what we want to see on the table 1 in order to note that it's been vacant the whole year, but it's a qualified vacant. So you're going to move in that unit. You're going to click move in. We're going to say it's unit number 10. And you're going to enter a little bit different information than you would for a regular move-in. So we're going to select the building. It's building 1. It's building 2. And we're going to select unit 10. So in this instant, and this is for this year only, we're going to have you put in this unit as a market rate. And then for the household name, just so it sticks out to us, we want you to put in qualified vacant as their name. And then you're going to put in 1/1/2025. And then there's no need to put in any other information since you put it in as a market rate. And it automatically pops you down to this last rent and data page. You can go ahead and enter that it's a restricted unit. But basically what we need over here, you'll notice that there isn't any red asterisks on this tab because we put them in as a market. We just want you to put in a comment. So in the comment, you're going to put in qualified vacant. Can't spell today. Then you're going to put in the previous household's last name. So let's say that person that moved out in 2024 and it's vacant for all of 2023, their name was Smith. They're going to do the move-in date when they originally moved in. So let's say they moved in 2/1/2020, and then go ahead and put their move-out date. So we're going to say they moved out 12/31. For you guys, it'll be, say, 2024. You're going to go ahead and click Save. That's going to save that record. Going to just click on this back arrow to take us to our electronic table 1. And you're going to see, we're going to be able to tell very quickly, whoops, did not mean to press that it's qualified vacant. And then if we need additional information, it's going to be in the notes that Smith moved in on this date and moved out on that date. Because we're going to be probably going back to your previous Part Bs and just double checking and making sure that that unit that has been vacant the entire year was actually bond qualified at one point. Okay. One more scenario is, what if someone goes over 140%? Or let's just say they're not complying this year with the recertification process. And so you're going to need to move them to a market unit and move another unit to be your bond unit. So you make sure that you still have the required amount of bond units according to a regulatory agreement. So what we're going to have you do is, so we're going to say that Joe here got a big raise and is now over 140%. You have market rates here. You don't want to go be out of compliance. So we're going to move Joe as a market unit, and then we're going to just choose someone else who is a market unit. We're going to qualify them to be the bond unit. First thing you're going to do is you're going to go into the actual household here. So we're going to click on Joe. One of the things I've forgot to mention before, I'm going to jump back real quick about the transfers. You see how this little blurb popped up here? It just lets you know, hey, this is not the first unit that Joe's lived in. This household was actually a transfer, and this is the unit and building that they transferred from. You'll notice when you go into Joe's previous unit, unit 6, it's going to have a similar pop-up, but it's going to say that it transferred to, and it'll say what unit they transferred into. Okay, so jumping back to your non-compliant or your over 140% households, we want you to change the unit designation from restricted to market. And then you're going to go ahead and click over to this very last tab, and then you're going to add a note. Why did we change them in the middle of the year from a restricted unit to market? So we're just going to put in change to market due to income over 140%. Go ahead and just save the what other comments you had in there, because we may need that information for other purposes. So once you have entered that you've changed, entered your comment about why you've changed this bond unit to market, go ahead and click save. And then we're going to click back to our digital, and we're going to see here now that Joe is no longer a restricted unit. Joe is now market. Why? Because the income went over 140%. So now we're short a unit, but you know that unit number 8 definitely qualifies. And so you're going to have them fill out the paperwork in order to use them as one of your bond units. So the day that they sign the paperwork and you're ready to, you've verified that they qualify to be your bond unit, you're going to process this unit number 8 as a move-in. So we got building 1, unit 8. This is now a restricted unit. And we're going to say Sally Mitchell. I'm sorry. So the move-in date, the date that you're going to enter is the date that they signed the paperwork to be a bond unit. So on August 15th, they have become your bond unit. You're going to click next. They are now the 50% unit. We verified just now that they have $15,000 as their annual income. We're going to enter their rent. We're going to make sure we use the bond-only utility allowance. We're just going to say this person has subsidy. And then in the comments, we're going to enter that we change from market to restricted, because they've already been living there, on 5/15/24. It'll be 2025 for you, due to unit, I believe it was 7. We're just going to say replacing unit 7, and then click save. So you basically just want to see that what unit you're replacing and why. So we're going to say unit 6 is no longer the bond unit. It's because they went over 140%. Unit 7 is now the bond unit, and it's because they because we're replacing unit number 7. So now we have gone over a few different scenarios for entering your table 1. You're all done entering. You're happy with all the people that you've entered. You feel like the information is accurate. You feel like you have all your bond units in there. But what we want you to do before you go ahead and submit is we want to make sure you actually look at the tables one last time and review and make sure that everything is in there that we need or that all the information is accurate. And I want to kind of show you how, when I worked on site, what I used to do in order to double check that. And I just want to say, when you guys submit reports, we can totally tell if you haven't reviewed it and you just entered information and submitted it. So just go ahead and, print up an Excel spreadsheet, take a look at this, make sure you're reviewing it. It's going to save us a lot of trouble sending stuff back because there's errors. It'll be less work for you guys to do on your end. So you're going to see on this top right-hand corner here that it has this arrow pointing down. And when you hover your mouse over it, it says download. If you click on that, what it does is it gives you the table 1 in an Excel form. So it's going to come out looking like this. Now, for all of you Excel whizzes, it's very helpful to be able to go in and just do things to this report to make it look a little prettier, so you're able to review it in a way where you can kind of see all your information on one screen. Because when you're looking at it this way, it's just, it doesn't all fit on one page. You kind of have to scroll a lot back and forth. Things are very spaced out. So I like to download a copy of the table 1 and look at it this way. And that way can make sure, is it all the right units that I want to be my bond units? Do they have the right person in it? Is the name correct? Is the move-in date correct? Is their move-in date correct? Did I make sure that I chose the right restrictive percentage? If there's any special needs, is there an actual field in this column denoting all the right person? Like maybe Joe was disabled too, and I print this up and look like, oh, I forgot to put Joe as disabled because there's no D in this column when there should be. And then also too, just make sure that when you have, there's requirements for comments, does the comment section say everything you want it to say? So you'll notice here, I have a little bit better table 1 copy that I worked earlier. So I'm going to get rid of this one and just pull up the one that I used where I had a more residents entered. So when you clean up your report, you're going to be able to see pretty quickly everything. Look it over. This is what I'm pulling up when I'm going to review your table. And so what you're going to be looking at is what I'm going to be looking at. So I would definitely print it up and just review everything and make sure it looks correct. And you're going to notice that this table 1 looks pretty darn similar to your Part B. So this is the old Part B when you would submit previous years. And it's basically an Excel spreadsheet as well, where you had to enter unit numbers, residents' names, move-in dates, move-out dates, their percentage. You guys were responsible for entering the household max income, but you don't have to do that anymore. So this table 1 is replacing Part B. So you've gone through, you've entered all your units, you have reviewed your data, you're very happy with it, you know it's going to pass with flying colors, so we're ready to submit it. So we're going to move on to the next step here, which is your table 1 submission. This is that hierarchy sheet that I was talking about. This is located in the WBARS guide that I'm going to talk about here in a few minutes. But basically, when you're submitting your reports, depending on what position that you're set up in WBARS, when you hit submit, it's going to only go up 1 level. You hitting submit does not necessarily submit it up to us. So if you're set up as an on-site manager in WBARS and you are happy with your report and you need to submit it, it's going to go up to the property manager. The property manager is going to need to review it, make sure they're happy with it. They're going to have the submit button now, which I will show you. And it's going to submit up to the next level, which is the owner. then it's the owner's responsibility to look it over, make sure they're happy with it. When they click submit, that's when it finally, you're done with your reporting. It's been submitted to us. You're basically done with that portion of it. So I'm going to show you what that looks like here. So if I click back on reports, this is just before you click into to get access to your table 1. It's at property manager. So on that hierarchy, we saw that once the property manager submits it, it's going to go up a level. So we're going into the table. We're clicking on the table 1 tab here, and you can see I have the submit button. If you don't see the submit button, go back and check and see what level the report's at. It might be that it's just somewhere other than your level. And so it either needs to be unsubmitted to you or somebody needs to submit it up to you in order for you to have this function. It's not automatically going to be there unless it's at your level. So when I click submit, it just says, are you sure? Because it's going up a level and you're not going to be able to edit anymore. Yes, we want to submit it. All right, so it says a report has been submitted, and you'll notice now when I go back to this report tab and it kind of shows me the overview, it no longer says property manager. It says it's now at the contractor owner level. And on our hierarchy here, it went up a level. For this example, the same person that is in the system as a property manager, when we go to the general tab, is also the owner. And that does happen sometimes. Sometimes the owners are doing it all. They don't have a separate management company that helps them. So we need to go in to your table 1, and it needs to be submitted again. So again, if it's at your level and you're the person that is in WBARS in that function, you'll have this submit button. You're clicking submit. You're saying, yep, I want to do it. It says your report has been submitted. I'm going to go back to this report tabs and see that it is now at the funder level. So once you see that it says funder, we now have it. The only person that's going to be able to edit now is us. So if for some reason there's a mistake, you forgot to add something, or we were looking at your report and we need you to do a correction, you're going to shoot your portfolio analyst an email, and they're going to be able to unsubmit it down a level for you. The other thing I want to show you here is now that I've submitted 2024 all the way to the funder, another line pops up. And this is because since you're done, it's going to give you access to move on to the next year. So now 2025 has popped up. You're going to be able to go in now and do edits to 2025. And if you click on the following year, and we're going to click on table 1, you're going to see it's pulling forward the previous year's information. And so you're not going to have to re-enter everybody over and over and over again. It's just going to pull most of the information over from the previous year and then move you on to the next year. And one thing that I want to point out for next year is you're going to have a lot less work to do. If we go into Joe and we're seeing, here's the move-in date, and now we need to put in when they were recertified. You're going to have to go in and put in the 2025 date, or it would for next year be 2026 because you're working on 2025, but you're putting in just what date they were recertified. And then for the following year, their income probably changed. So let's say for this year, this resident now makes $47,000. And let's say the rent went up a little bit too. So now they're $1,300. So you're basically putting in their recertification date in the current recert box. you're updating their income, and you're going to update their rent. And then you're going to go ahead and click save. And that's all you're going to have to do for the next year for residents that are still living there that haven't moved in or out or transferred. So the following annual recertification year is a lot simple when you're updating your current residents. Okay. So the last thing that I want to talk about is resources. So I know I gave you guys a lot of information here. For the ones that have never used this before, it's probably a lot of jumping around, but don't fear. If you go into WBARS, there's actually a user guide that is going to show you how to also do these steps. I'm actually going to get out of my slide here and back into WBARS. So this side navigation panel, as I talked to at the beginning, has this help function here. It's this little question mark. If you click on that, this is where some videos and other user guides live. The videos are a little outdated. It's showing like a previous version of WBARS. And so looking at the video, things look a little bit different, but a lot of the steps are very similar. So it might be helpful. But I think what is most useful here is the user guide. If you click on that, you're able to access this PDF. Now it's 264 pages. The reason why it has so many pages is because if you're doing tax credit reporting, there are 5 tables that you're entering for. So it has instructions on how to work all those tables and the different fields in there. Since you're only doing table 1, you're not going to need to find all those things, but how are you going to find what you need to revisit? So the table of contents here is interactive. And so if you are just trying to scroll through and say, like, how do I reset my password? You could just click on that column or that name in the table of contents, and it jumps you right to where you need to go. So, how do I set up an account? You click on that, it takes you directly to the page. And then on that page, it gives you the step-by-step instructions on how to do it. And it also has pictures. So you'll be able to not only just read, like, what do you do? It's like in this field, it says password, here's where you're going to have to enter. Other things like, let's find something. Let's say we need to get to utility allowances, but you can't seem to find it on here. If you do Control F, it'll pop up this little search box, and you can just put, where are the UA stuff? So it shows me that there are 48 different instances where utility allowances are showing up here. So that might help me quickly find where, oh yeah, Carmen told me how to do bulk utility allowances. This, I can't remember how to do it. So you can just search and dig through kind of where all the instances that name pops up, and then you'll be able to quickly get to the page where it's going to show you the step-by-step instructions with pictures and everything. So we'll have this video up for you so you can go back and just kind of see the step-by-step. But if you learn better by reading, or you just don't have time to watch the video, you can also go into WBARS and find the procedures in the user guide as well. Some other resource options is us. So your portfolio analyst, I'm going to actually go back into live online. If you go to our website, so it's wshfic.org. This is the kind of the main page that you're going to come to. When you go to compliance, it'll have this drop down where it says contact us. If you click on contact us, this is the same screenshot that it showed you. It shows all the portfolio analysts and their extensions, but maybe you don't know who to contact for your particular site. We have this find your portfolio analyst by property name. If you click on that, it opens up and shows you all the properties that we monitor. And let's say you are in 13 West Apartments and you want to know who you're going to contact if you have a question. You can see over here, your portfolio analyst is me. So you can either give me a call, and I have our direct lines up here, or you can give us, you could just shoot us an email. So our email address is just our first name dot last name, and then you just add at wishfic.org to the end, and that's how you're going to contact us. I know for me personally, email is much a better way to communicate with me than calling me, because we're doing stuff like this training or just other things, or we're super busy. There'll be times where somebody shoots me an email. I might be in the middle of something else or in a meeting, and I'm answering your question right away. You don't have to wait till Friday when I'm done doing this training for me to get back to you. So, shoot us an email with your questions. That might give us a little bit of time to research what you're asking as well, if we need to confer with the other folks or look something up, or just give us a call and we're happy to help you.